Hello, this is Michael from the Board Games Chronicle. Today I have a pleasure to continue my series of materials, of videos about great battles of the American Revolution. Today we'll be talking about the Volume 9 Rhode Island battle, our skirmish, which happened on August 29th, 1778, and about a bonus game, hypothetical game, which we have in this installment, the Newport. The game was published in 2020. The series is, of course, driven by Mark Miklos, and it's already 9, volumes. So you can truly see the development of the series, development of the components, development of the rules. So, for example, we'll have opportunity cards in this game. We'll have colorful rule book, but still matte, so your eyes will not ache, and also beautiful mounted maps, which is also an upgrade. The box is sturdy, 2-inch box, nicely done. At the back, as always, you have a map actually of a Newport game, of the counters, complexity, solitaire suitability, and some description. What we'll do today, of course, show the components because they are really gorgeous and they are getting better and better from the volume to volume. However, as always, I'm also focusing on some specifics of the game, because as a series you have a series rules and you have specific rules for the battles. So like for Rhode Island will be some specifics, for Newport there will be some specifics, so I will focus on them. Of course, we'll get to some historical background because both battles are historically connected. Briefly, because what I'm mainly doing is putting the historical description of the battle when I'm showing the map, so you can see on the map what actually happened. But enough to say is that Rhode Island is a battle where the Americans were withdrawing from the siege of Newport, actually, due to two factors: the French withdrawal, from the siege of Newport, and also the militia, the contracts of the militia in the, I believe Sullivan was the American general, in his army, were simply finishing. So he had to move back. The British sorted out of Newport and thought, we will crush the Americans, but they were doing something which is the most difficult thing for the army to do. They were withdrawing and retreating in organized manner with a very good rear guard. So it was completely surprise for the British that the American army was capable of such retreat. Newport is a historical battle in which, let's say, the French are not, sailing away. They sailed away because of a huge storm which hit his navy, but also the British. And let's say the contracts of the militia can be prolonged. So Newport is, I would say, hypothetically showing how the siege of Newport could finish. Both things we shall see on the map. As always in the games from the series, we will have a series rulebook, and then we'll have so-called exclusive rulebook. The series rulebook will be covering the rules which today are almost not changing anymore after 9 volumes. Some small tweaks are possible, but all in all, those rules are set in stone. There is not too many of them, 14 pages with expanded sequence of play at the end. What is new in the volume 9 is we have colors in the rulebook. If I remember, all previous volumes, except for the reprints, which are like 3-packs, didn't have the colors here, and it really helps here to have those colors. There is a description of always of components. So how the leaders and units looks like, about their strength, movement allowance, close combat DRM, for the generals, leadership DRM and allowance. The rank is important because it shows who can command whom. very important. And of course, the entry hex is here over there. I will show you on the actual counters how does it look like. We have explanation of a terminology about rifles, for example, with R and additional possibility to fire. How to win. There are always 3 levels of victory: decisive, substantial, and marginal. Decisive is very much battle scenario connected. It's usually some area which you need to control. Substantial is usually when you need to draw the morale of the other army to 0. It will be substantial. And marginal victory, usually that means that no decisive, no substantial victory were achieved, so we simply look at the victory points of both sides and see who have more of them. Yes, when we have a general sequence of play, this is kind of I go, you go system with a twist. So usually you have initiative phase at the beginning, and in majority of battles, one of the sides start the first turn with the initiative, sometimes even first 2 turns, and then you will be rolling for a initiative with the army morale having impact on your roll. Then you will have one side doing their part of movement, rally, defensive artillery fire, rifle fire, close combat, and then the other side doing the similar things. End of turn we'll check whether victory was achieved, and then we will move to the next turn. This is pretty straightforward game. I would say medium complexity, depending on the battle. Low counter intensity, definitely. Stacking, usually maximum 6 friendly strength points on particular hex. No more, we will have zone of controls. This is hex and counter game in the end. However, again with a twist, the regular infantry will not have zone of control into the harsh terrain like woods. However, the light infantry will, because this is very specific. Information about movement, we'll have a movement chart, which shows how the terrain affects the movement. Rifle fire, additional fire for the units with rifles. There will, you see the rifles. There will be defensive artillery fire, it can be automatic. How do we resolve close combat? These are the regular things. The close combat will be affected also by the tactics card, like frontal assault, withdrawal, attack from the left flank, attack from the right flank, and those tactics you will be playing in a hidden way. Each player 1 tactic card. Some of them require leader, and then they will be flipping them, and once they flip them, we'll see what will be the impact on the battle. These are the tactics. There are also cheats. I'm not sure if they have not finally totally resigned from them in lieu of cards only. Momentum allows you to usually increase your chances with getting the initiative. In this game, for example, in Rhode Island, you will be getting the opportunity cards for them. Then we have combat results. We'll show you in the player 8. Yes, and then disorganized, shattered. We'll have morale checks, important stuff about leaders, and then the rally phase and army morale, which is of utmost importance. Those 2 tables, I believe, are fixed for the series. So the tactics matrix, as you can see, depending what tactic you play, different impact you have. And here you can see that some of them requires leader, and some of them can result in no combat also. Combat resolution table, the regular one, with the results like retreat, disruption, 1, 2-step losses, captured, and so on. At the end, expanded sequence of play, which usually is a bit adjusted from the game to game. And as we can see, now we have exclusive rulebook. This will be divided in 2 sections, Rhode Island and Newport. Very short rulebook, 6 pages of rules for the Rhode Island and a bit more for the Newport. Newport is actually much larger battle. Rhode Island will be like half of a sheet of the counters. Newport will be one counter sheet, still not big. So what do we have here? Again, colors. I like it. Colors really help. First things first. It is a tradition that each new volume in the Great Battles of American Revolution brings some updates to the previous games in the form of the updated counters. We'll have replacement counters for Pensacola, for Savannah, for Germantown, Brandywine. Now you can ask, wow, they are doing errata all the time. No, that's not errata. That's usually two things. A flavor, to make the game more reflecting the realities at some home, and also there are still researches done into the battles of American Revolution, and if a new information comes, it's being updated. For example, quick example, we have El Tigre. This combat unit replaces the Guadalajara Infantry Regiment. El Tigre was its fighting nickname. Simple. Espana. The uniform spaces for this unit have been corrected. Simply exchange this unit for the original, so new uniforms. Of course, there are bigger changes like the parameters, but even those small things are pretty cool. Yes, and we have Puławski Legion also here. That's very interesting. And here we actually have the change in his parameters. Okay, Rhode Island. What do we have about Rhode Island? These are the units which will be used: British Loyalists and Hessians. There will be Americans, state troops, patriot militia, and regulars. Militia is always kneeling, so it's easy to differentiate. Army Morale 1314, it will be visible on the map. What is very important, how are we achieving victory? I will show you this on the map because there are some spaces which are important for this. Yeah. And yes, victory point schedule will show on the map. Series rules variations. So these are the leaders, and we have information who commands whom. Retreat priorities also will show on the map. Garrison requirements, will be showing on the map. Special rules are the opportunity cards. So these are cards which are giving you a small bonus versus your enemy, either the plus for you or minus for them. There is several of them, 26 of them. And you start with one, and there are methods then to acquire them. Like if you inflict a lot of casualties on your opponent, you will get a card. I think the American gets every second British casualty and British every third, American casualty. You will be getting them during the game. You will be getting them also for, using the artillery, some occupancy of the terrain and so on. And last thing are the victory conditions here. As I said, I will show them to you on the map. Enough to say that the American simply needs to destroy the British 16 strength points, while the British will have to capture one particular area on the map. Special units, as always, will have. They are described here. I will not be going into details. So this is the smaller battle. The larger battle, the Newport, will feature many more units. Of course, the British units will be British regulars, loyalists, Hessians, and militia. On American side, you will have continental regulars, state troops, and volunteer troops. Also, there were no volunteers there, plus militia and French regular troops. And these are really a game changer for you. The deployment is usually done with a number on your hex, on your counter, which shows you the hex you need to be, or maybe as a reinforcement. The American decisive victory will depend on the day. On the first day, it will be taking 3 out of 5 redoubts of the external defensive line. On the day 2, it will be taking 3 out of 5 in the internal defensive line. Of course, it's much easier to show you this on the map than in the text. And if the Americans manage to get hold of at least one hex of Newport, the British will be rolling for surrender. Okay. A substantial victory is always on morale, marginal on victory points. Here we have all the leaders with the seniority. Retreat priorities will show on the map. Usually the British, they are being besieged, so they will be retreating towards HQ, not towards some direction. The Americans and French will be retreating out of the Newport. There will be garrison requirements, as I also here, and variable reinforcements. There are some considerations to what extent the French can stack with the Americans. That's usual thing. Funny thing is that in the special rules we have BOC transit procedure. One of the creeks on the right flank of the British was supposed to be, the dam was supposed to be built to flood the area on the right flank to deny it to Americans. It was never tested. There were some doubts whether it will work. So the Mark put a rule to check to what extent it actually have some impact on the battle. This is really interesting. Zone of control and field works. Yeah, there is a rule that if you are next to the field works, you cannot move forward. Spiking guys, night interface. You have 2 days, so we'll have night interface. By the way, Newport takes part in like 20 days before the Rhode Island retreat. Newport is August 10th, Rhode Island August 29th, something like this. Artillery characteristics, and then a lot of special units, yeah, like mortars, howitzers, artillery. There is many more of them than in the Rhode Island. Yeah, this is, as I told you, a larger battle. As always, we have a very interesting historical information about the battles, also with hypothetical considerations. I really encourage you to read it because you will learn also history that way, and this is exactly why we play those games. Sequence of play for both games. As I told you, this is usually adjusted a bit for the particular battle, and this is also true here. When we have player aids, there is one player aid for both games. So, as always, we have tactical matrix and close combat table, which does not rather change from the game to game. We have DRMs for close combat for attacker and defender, usually also set in stone in the series. Range fire table, artillery, fire damage, and so on. Big portion is about terrain effects chart. On the map you will also have a terrain which will help you to remember what and when to do. This is a special thing, night interface, movement allowance, and then of course the leader summary and victory point schedule. So what impacts the army morale? AM is army morale. And what impacts the victory points, like killing, those leaders on the American side, on the British side, on the German side, and also when you inflict the damage to your opponents. Artillery, it's getting a bit, complicated in this volume. A lot of artillery, especially in Newport. And then, last but not least, artillery again. So mortars, misfire, mortars scatter and drift. I believe it's rightly reflects the actual battle. However, I'm not sure if it's not a bit too much from the details perspective. But yeah, well, that's definitely a chrome which is added to this game. Both player aids are same, so no need to look here. Now we look at the counters, and this is the Rhode Island, and this is the Newport. So you can see the difference. Yeah, definitely. These are the British units, and these are the British Hessians, Germans who are helping them, and this will be the Americans who are defending. Really not too many counters, definitely not, and additional counters which are needed here for the play. Rhode Island is definitely a small battle. Newport is definitely a larger battle, let's say. These are the French. Yes, this would be the French. Yeah, Lafayette and so on. This was actually the first battle in which both sides, Americans and French, cooperated, I believe. And this will be the American forces. Here we'll have the Hessians and the British, and also those fieldworks I was talking about, and the Bok. Depending on what will come out in your test, you will have various results. Now we have a map. I have here a mounted map and also a small paper map. I will show you in a moment. Before this, I would like to show you the cards. Okay. As always, we have dice. And for the cards, I need my card opener. I should have it ready before the shooting of the material, but I didn't. We have two sets of cards. These are both tactics cards, I believe, and opportunity cards for each of the sides. Tactics are used now instead of counters, and I believe this is the right decision. So, yeah, these are the British tactics. I believe they are not changing anymore. So you have all those tactics you play in the battle, one side, and the other side you flip and you see what will be the impact on the battle. And these are, I believe, those more interesting ones. The opportunity card, like oppressive hit, play during enemy rally turn 5-11, -2 DRM to all enemy rally die rolls. Counter-attack. Inspires leadership, play during friendly close combat, +1 DRM when von der Malsburg is the lead unit. These are not huge, changes, guys. These are small, but very interesting, and replayability of the game is bigger, thanks to those cards, definitely. What do we have here? Play during enemy close assault, -1 DRM to 1 American close combat. Mackenzie initiative, reposition any one British or Hessian artillery unit subject to stacking limits. And then fire. Very, very nice indeed. And let me open those tactics cards and opportunity for the Americans. So tactics are the same, so we don't need to spend too much time on this. But I'm very curious about the opportunity cards. The back is nice. Local superiority. Play this card to cancel the effect of one enemy card at the moment it is played. Counter-attack is similar. Smallpox, so some are generic, as you can see, and some are specific. Play during friendly movement, on or after turn 7. Add the rear artillery opportunity unit as reinforcements. There are some opportunity units on the counters of the units which are not taking part into the battle but might take part. Ambush. So this is something which brings them. Again, place Langdon's New Hampshire Lieutenant Horse opportunity unit. Again, this is the possibility to bring some reinforcements. Definitely, we'll try to use it. Now, map. I promised you the map and I promised you some explanation about historical events which took place there. So let me first show you the Rhode Island map. So the battle which took place, or the skirmish which took place. So what do we have here? As always on the great battles of American Revolution, we have terrain key, we have army morale here. On the side we will have game turn track. Yeah, you can see it. And here we have casualty track, which also shows when each side is getting the opportunity cards for the casualties inflicted to the opponent. Here we have leader loss table. What I like is that they now show very nicely the priorities of retreat. So what is the situation when the game starts? Across those two roads, I believe, the British are pushing forward. British forces here, Hessians here, and the Americans are retreating, withdrawing, and they will making stand here at Quaker Hill, Turkey Hill, and Durf's Hill. Here is the ultimate goal of the British. If they occupy it, they automatically win the game. This means that the American forces has to garrison those three hexes until they are attacked. Once they are attacked, they can start moving, but they have to be, garrisoned, always. Those hexes are victory point hexes, as you can see. This is one victory point for the Americans at the end of the game, and it could be denied if the British occupy it. Similarly for this, but I believe those two hexes has to be controlled to provide one victory point. Here is where the Americans can retreat. The British will retreat that way. So the narrow, let's say, path here with some hills. This is perfect place for the defense. Yeah, perfect place for the defense. So the British will be pushing from this side, the Americans will be defending here. And now the larger battle. So the Newport. Yeah, this is definitely bigger and longer battle. What do we have? Terrain key. Then here we have most of the tables we have here. So like the Army Morale track, Game Turn track, also French Morale impact table. We don't have opportunity cards here, but we have infantry point loss. What's the situation on the map? Here is the Newport. Here is the harbor of Newport. Here is the inner defense line. Here is the outer defense line. The Americans will set up either on the particular hexes or in those zones here at the top here. The reinforcements for Americans come from here, for French from here. And victory conditions. Day one, there is like Tomini Hill Redoubt, Irish Redoubt, Bannisters Redoubt, Dudley's Redoubt, and Cards Redoubt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the American occupies 3 of them, by the end of day 1, they win. And if not, day 2, they have battery number 1, 2, 3, Barrier Redoubt and Eastern Redoubt, so those 5. If by the end of the day 2, they occupy 3 out of those 5, they also achieve the decisive victory. If any of those hexes is occupied by Americans, remember, we will have the surrender check for the British, and 2 HQs of the British are here and here, and the British will have to retreat towards them. Those symbols mean simply that those 4 hexes has to be garrisoned by the good order parade units. And the bog is here. So the dam was never built, but let's assume it was built, and it will be checked to what extent it really had some impact on the move of the American forces. So a hypothetical battle which could be really interesting. Another siege type battle. Okay, guys, we are almost entering the 30 minutes mark. I believe that's completely enough for the unboxing video. However, it was unboxing and overview, and of not 1 game but 2 games, 2 battles. So I hope you will excuse me. That's all of what I have for you today. I'm really eager to play those games, again, great battles of American history, revolution, sorry. I'm getting into the system thanks to Janek, who is fan of this and possesses all games in the series. I'm having fun with this and really hope to learn more about the American Revolution thanks to those games. That's all for today. Thank you very much. If you liked this video, give a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, do not hesitate and subscribe. That's all for today. Use please the comment section below video for any opinions, remarks, questions, comments. It's really, really appreciated. Thank you once again for watching, and see you in the next material. Bye.